Matters of state are happily mixed in with what she had for breakfast, and the great issues of the day are punctuated with family outings or the jokes that made them laugh around the dinner table. It's a fascinating insight both into the life of her family and everything that was happening around them. Victoria recorded whatever took her fancy or caught her attention. This is important because the 64 years in which she ruled, which became known as the Victorian Age, was a time of extraordinary prosperity and development in Britain. The men and women who helped to shape that age are the subjects of this story. On the 28th of June, 1838, Victoria was crowned Queen at Westminster Abbey in London. In her diary she wrote,
"Was awoke at 4 a.m. by the guns in the park. There was a 21-gun salute in Hyde Park to mark the day. Got up at 7, feeling strong and well. The park presented a curious spectacle. Crowds of people up to Constitution Hill, soldiers, bands, etc. I dressed, having taken a little breakfast before. At 10, I got into the state coach, and we began our progress. It was a fine day, and the crowds of people exceeded what I have ever seen. Multitudes of my loyal subjects who were assembled in every spot to witness the procession. Their good humour and excessive loyalty was beyond everything, and I really cannot say how proud I feel to be the queen of such a nation. I was alarmed at times for fear that the people would be crushed and squeezed on account of the tremendous rush and pressure. I reached the Abbey amid deafening cheers at a little after 11:30.
One of her subjects, at least, was not in any danger of being crushed and squeezed by the crowd. Working as a reporter for a magazine called The Examiner, he had rented rooms above the street so that he could get a better view of the magnificent procession. As he watched the gilded carriages escorted by mounted soldiers with their drawn swords glittering in the sunlight, he must have had mixed feelings. He was very conscious of the huge expense of a ceremony like this at a time when so many people in the country were poor and even starving. Parliament had agreed to spend £200,000 on the event, a huge sum of money at that time. Yet he had to admire the spectacular procession, and he could not deny the genuine expression of loyalty from the cheering crowd, which by now had swelled to nearly 400,000 people. As he wrote in his report, "Their hearts were in their voices." This young journalist was to become the most famous writer of his time, and when we think of the Victorian age, it is hard to imagine it without his distinctive voice. In fact, it could be argued that today we tend to see this whole period through the characters and stories that he created and made famous. His name was Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens, 1812 to 1870. Charles Dickens was born in Portsmouth, on the south coast of England, on the 7th of February 1812. His father, John, worked as a clerk in the pay office of the Royal Navy. His mother's name was Elizabeth. Because his father worked for the Navy, the family had to move around wherever he was needed, first to London, then to the Isle of Sheppey in the Thames estuary, and at last to Chatham in Kent, where they managed to settle down and stayed for 5 years. This was an important time for young Charles. Chatham was then a busy naval town, but it was surrounded by beautiful countryside. Whenever he wrote or spoke of it later, this part of his childhood seemed to him like an idyllic dream. The Dickens family grew rapidly. Charles soon had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. Because they didn't have much money,